Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you're doing well and enjoying the day. And welcome to the 11th International Conference on Second Language Acquisition, Second Language Studies. The title of our presentation is Cognitive and Neurological Factors Influencing Second Language Acquisition, which is basically a systematic review. Right, so the authors of this article and also the people who prepared this presentation are Rania, Mjahad and Ahmed, Boukranaa. Both of them are PhD candidates at the Department of English, Faculty of Letters and Human Sciences at Sidi Mohammed bin Abdullah University, Fas in Morocco. And also both of them are lecturers at Jazan University. All right, so they have done many research and published articles and book chapters in index journals and with different publishers. Also, they have participated in many conferences, national conferences and international conferences as well. Now, the study of second language acquisition has become increasingly relevant due to the rise of multilingualism, particularly among younger generations who engage with multiple languages early in life. So ECLA differs from native language acquisitions because learning a second language follows distinct cognitive and neurological pathways influenced by factors such as brain plasticity, working memory, executive function, and environmental exposure. Now, during childhood, language is acquired subsequently through communication and immersion, allowing younger learners to intuitively absorb, let's say, grammatical structures without explicit instruction. In contrast, adults L2 learners only rely mainly on explicit teaching methods requiring deliberate memorization of grammar rules and vocabulary. So ECLA is shaped by memory networks, executive functions, phonological adaptation, and motivation, making the process highly individual. So researchers continue to explore why some learners acquire language effortlessly while others struggle. So the variability in ECLA stems from differences in cognitive abilities, environmental influences, and psychological factors as well. So bilingualism has been shown to induce brain structural modifications affecting neuronal activation and language processing speed. Additionally, motivation, anxiety, and cognitive load significantly influence ECLA success, shaping the way individuals approach language learning. One of the most debated theories in ECLA is the critical period hypothesis, which suggests that younger learners benefit from heightened brain plasticity, enabling them to reach native-like fluency more efficiently. In contrast, adult learners face cognitive and neurological barriers requiring greater effort and exposure, let's say, exposure to achieve proficiency. Research on working memory limitations, cognitive overload, and language interference further highlights the challenges of ECLA in adulthood. Now, despite the challenges associated with late ECLA, research suggests that adults can overcome biological constraints through intensive learning strategies, while neuroplasticity declines after adolescence. Studies indicate that structured exposure, immersion techniques, and repetitive practice enhance L2 processing efficiency. Now, and of course, we talk here about the connectionist model process that language learning occurs through pattern recognition and neural adaptation, supporting the idea that ECLA is possible at any age. Now, cognitive neuroscience emphasizes the role of working memory, intelligence, and language aptitude in ECLA, demonstrating that brain activity in bilingual speakers differs significantly from monolingual individuals. Neuroimaging studies reveal that bilingual speakers develop denser gray matter, particularly in language processing regions of the brain, strengthening cognitive flexibility, problem-solving skills, and executive function. Moreover, bilingualism has been linked to delay cognitive decline, reducing the risk of neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer. Now, while theories about ECLA remain diverse, researchers continue to debate how neuroplasticity, executive control, and phonological adaptation work for the L2 learning. Now, this systematic review that we are developing and trying to share with you most of its results aims to synthesize findings from cognitive neuroscience, psycholinguistic, and bilingual education to develop evidence-based teaching recommendations, ultimately refining multilingual education strategies for diverse learners. Now, as we said, the methodology here is basically built up in the systematic review. And in this systematic review, there are many conditions that we included in order to select the works or the academic works that we are going to scrutinize. Now, the main methodology used here is PRISMA, or let's say research instrument is PRISMA, and the data selection and research strategy that follows is, let's say, simple. So we examine studies on ECLA, cognitive neuroscience, psycholinguistic, and bilingualism by analyzing published work published between 2001 and 2004. The goal is to provide a comprehensive synthesis of how memory systems, executive function, brain plasticity, and psychological factors such as motivation and anxiety impact language, let's say, learning. Now, the database selection and search strategy. So we based our review basically on 4 databases. So the first one is PubMed, and basically we took works that are related to neuroimaging studies on ECLA, and Scopus, works that are related to psycholinguistic theories and language processing research, and Web of Science. Here we gathered works linked to bilingualism and cognitive flexibility studies, and also PsycInfo, which is the source of works about executive function mechanisms relevant to ECLA. Now, to identify the most relevant studies, we used keyword search were employed using phrases such as second language acquisition, bilingualism, cognitive neuroscience, and psychological factors in ECLA. So these terms ensured broad yet focused data retrieval, helping researchers locate studies, specifically examine neurological activation and phonological adaptation. Also, we can mention here memory processing in ECLA learners. Now, there is also an inclusion and exclusion criteria that was adopted in this methodology. So the study, to summarize it, the study adhered to strict inclusion and exclusion criteria. We included articles that were peer-reviewed, published in English, and focused on ECLA mechanisms within cognitive neuroscience. Let's say also on psycholinguistics and also bilingual education. Now, the research period covers works published from 2001 to 2024 to ensure both historical perspective and recent advancement in language acquisition studies. Now, we excluded non-English publications, self-assessment studies, book chapters, opinion pieces, and editorial articles lacking empirical validation. So this criteria helped refine the data set to provide high quality evidence-based insights into the neurological and cognitive, let's say, frameworks involved in ECLA. Now, also there is data extraction and analysis. Now, a qualitative mathematic analysis approach was used to extract key findings from the review studies. So the selected ESLA studies were categorized into 5 primary themes. The first one is memory function and bilingual cognitive, which is about the role of hippocampus in vocabulary acquisition, procedural memory for grammar learning. And also the second one is neuroplasticity and ECLA adaptation, which is about brain restructuring and enhanced white matter integrity in early bilingualism. Also, the third one is age-related constraints in ESLA, which is about cognitive flexibility and impact of age on phonological processing. The fourth theme is phonological adaptation mechanisms, influence of pronunciation, training, and phoneme recognition. The fifth and last theme is psychological influences on language proficiency, motivation, anxiety, intelligence, and cognitive load. Now, the findings. Now, when it comes to findings, the review identifies several key cognitive, neurological, and let's say psychological factors influencing second language acquisition. Now, these findings are categorized into memory systems, neuroplasticity, age-related effects, phonological processing, and psychological influences, as I said before. Now, to say more about this topic, we can start with the memory function and bilingual let's say memory systems and executive function, which is also memory function and bilingual cognition. Now, the declarative memory or hippocampus is essential for vocabulary acquisition, while procedural memory, which is basal ganglia, supports grammar learning. Now, executive function, which is prefrontal cortex, enhances task switching and working memory. Now, enabling bilingual learners to, let's say, avoid linguistics interference. Now, when it comes to brain adaptation and neuroplasticity, so bilingualism reshapes brain networks, increasing gray matter density in the left inferior parietal cortex. Early bilinguals show higher white matter integrity, leading to native-like fluency. Late learners rely on compensatory neural mechanisms, engaging additional brain structures for language processing. Now, age-related constraints and phonological processing is the next step. Now, when it comes to this step, so the critical period hypothesis suggests that L2 acquisition declines post-puberty due to reduced neuroplasticity. However, structured phonetic training, such as high variability phonetic training, enhances pronunciation accuracy in adults. Now, psychological factors in ECLI are related to motivation and anxiety, and also cognitive load strongly shaped ECLI success. Now, moderate anxiety is appreciated. In fact, it improves focus, while high anxiety impairs the learning process and impairs also retention. Additionally, bilingualism delays cognitive decline, reducing the risk of neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer, as stated earlier. Now, when it comes to the discussion of this presentation, so we explored the multifaceted influences that shape ESLI across cognitive, neurological, and psychological dimensions. So our systematic review synthesizes findings from 2001 to 2014, 2024, as said before, providing insights into how neuroplasticity, working memory, executive function, and phonological adaptation impact ECLA success. Now, particularly in adults. Now, we can move on to the, now it's too early for that, so we can go back here. Yeah. Now, we divided the discussion into some steps in order to facilitate their understanding and also to give you a good idea about what's going on in the domain of neuroscience and second language acquisition. Now, one of the so neuroplasticity and ECLA adaptation. One of the central themes explored in the discussion is, let's say, neuroplasticity, which refers to the brain's ability to recognize synaptic connections to facilitate learning. This mechanism is especially pronounced in early bilingual, let's say, learners, allowing automatic linguistic processing and left lateralized neural activation. Neuroimaging studies indicate that young learners exhibit, let's say, bilateral activation during the L2 processing, whereas late learners rely more on prefrontal cognitive control mechanism. Right, so the critical period hypothesis suggests that the ECLA declines post-puberty, leading to reduced phonological adaptation and implicit grammar acquisition. However, late bilingual learners can still achieve proficiency using structured cognitive strategies, phonetic training, and immersive exposure. Right? Now, when it comes to cognitive control and memory processing in ESLA, the review identifies key brain regions involved in ECLA or second language acquisition, which is the first one, inferior frontal gyrus, which facilitates speech production and grammar processing. Also, basal ganglia is procedure memory consolidation, supporting grammatical pattern recognition. And we have also hippocampus plays a crucial role in vocabulary acquisition and retention, showing heightened activity in multilingual speakers. Right? Now, the second or the third point that is discussed in the discussion is phonological processing and late ECLA acquisition, which is mainly linked to late ECLA learners that struggle with phonological encoding, making accent retention and pronunciation challenging. So the review discusses high variability phonetic training as an effective intervention to enhance phoneme perception and production accuracy in adult learners. Now, the third or the fourth point here is psychological factors and ECLA success, which is the discussion underscores motivation and also, let's say, underscore motivation, anxiety, and executive function as pivotal to ECLA success, right? So when it comes to motivation, it influences learning speed, distinguishes, integrates cultural immersion versus instrumental career-related motivations. Now, we talked about also moderate anxiety that enhances focus, while high anxiety disrupts, as said before, memory retention. Bilingualism protects again against neurodegenerative diseases, reinforces cognitive flexibility and executive control. Now, throughout the discussion, we confirm, or this review confirmed, that ECLA is a lifelong process shaped by cognitive training, structured exposure, phonological immersion, and psychological adaptation. While early learners benefit from highly neuroplasticity, adult learners compensate through, let's say, metacognitive strategies, pronunciation, training, and executive function engagement. Right now, to conclude our presentation, which is, let's say, a summary of our research. So our review confirms that while younger learners benefit from heightened neuroplasticity and automatic linguistic processing, adult learners can also achieve proficiency through structured training and cognitive strategies. Now, research findings emphasize that ECLA depends on memory network, which is declarative and procedural memory, executive function, phonological, let's say, processing, and immersion techniques, which collectively shape how individuals retain, recall, and use a second language. Now, a central theme in this conclusion, in our conclusion, is the debunking of the critical period hypothesis. While younger learners may develop native-like fluency with ease, neuroimaging studies confirms that adult learners engage let's say, compensatory neural mechanisms, activating prefrontal cognitive control structures to facilitate ECLA. Now, another major takeaway is that bilingualism enhances cognitive flexibility and protects against as stated before, neurodegenerative diseases. Studies indicate that lifelong multilingual exposure delays Alzheimer's onset, threaten, let's say, executive function, increases gray matter density in the left inferior parietal cortex. Now, overall, we can say that this systematic review reinforces that ECLA is a dynamic, lifelong process. While children benefit from implicit learning, adults can optimize ECLA outcomes through immersive environments, phonological training, and memory-enhancing strategies. So the findings provide evidence-based recommendations from language educators, policymakers, and researchers advocating for neuroscience-driven multilingual education framework that align with cognitive, let's say, principles. That was all about our presentation. Thank you for your time, for listening, for everything. We hope that you enjoy it. If there are any questions, please forward them to us. We'll be glad and happy to help you. Thank you. Have a nice day.